Hey people in YouTube land, Zach Hall here. Today I want to bring you guys a Bible review of the Bearing Precious Seed wide margin. These things have been out of stock for a long time, probably about 1.5 to 2 years. But they are back on the website, and I did mention that on my post. I know many of you saw that, and many of you are probably waiting for the review. And so I just want to go over this Bible, show you the positives, show you maybe a few negatives that some people might have problems with. I personally love the Bible. I think it's great. But there are definitely some quirks to it that I think other people should be aware of. And so let's just get in the review. So again, this is a $50 Bible that could probably easily be priced at $100 or $150 if they were trying to make money off these. Because this is actually a genuine a genuine Moroccan leather, not French Morocco. So it's a very nice grain to it. This one's actually a nice spongy texture, feels good. It is edge lined with a polyurethane liner, so you can see that there. It's tabbed into the block right here. So it is made very well for a $50 Bible. And I actually have the old edition that we'll be comparing it to here as well. So you can see the leathers are the same. They're both the Moroccan leather. But this one was lined with a synthetic leather liner. So the new one, as far as I know right now, they're using these polyurethane liners. Now in that you have a nice stitching around the whole entire perimeter on the front and the back of the Bible. The grain again in this is just, it's amazing. I'm pretty sure it's a stamped grain, but still it looks really, really well done. On the spine here, it's pretty simple. You have Holy Bible, King James Version, the First Word Publisher's logo, and then the First Word Publisher name at the bottom. You do have 5 raised hubs here as well, and they are definitely slightly pronounced. So that's cool there. Got a great grain on the side, on the spine as well. Comes with 2 ribbon markers. These ribbon markers actually, I was pleasantly surprised. They were a little bit longer than normal, and they're actually a lot longer than the old one. The ribbon markers in the old one. So I was really happy about that because these are easy to pull out and lift up. It does have gold gilding, and so all of them do come with the gold gilding. Now BPS's, it looks very nice, and it is a nice look. But in the previous experiences, just for those of you guys out there that maybe haven't bought one from them yet, if this gets any type of water or anything on the gild, it will pretty much wipe off the entire gild. So I do want you to just be aware of that. It is beautiful. It's very well done, especially for a $50 Bible. You can see there. But it is very susceptible to any water. So sweat from your hands, water that you might be drinking, coffee, anything like that. If you're someone who's conscious, I mean, I know that the gilding is going to get scruffed up, but you know, the water really will take it away to where you just see white. And I've had that happen on a few of the ones I've had before. Now on this one, what I did is I added red art gild to it. So they do not have an art gild on these Bibles. I did add that in after I bought it. And so it does protect the gold gild because you can't really see where it's been damaged. You can see where it's been scratched up a little bit, but the red really does cover up a lot of the damage to the gild. But I did want you to be aware of that. It is a beautiful gild. Did a great job. You get black and yellow head and tail bands. Again, it is edge lined. You get a nice thick vinyl sheet here. This is tabbed to the block pretty good. Now what I did notice is that this paper though on both sides is glued pretty far out from the actual tab. So the tab I can feel ends right here, and you can see it extends all the way over here. So that paper is glued not right on the edge, but pretty close to the edge of that. And then they glued this up further. Now I think it helps the Bible lay a little bit flatter. We'll kind of go in that here in a little bit, but I did find that a little interesting. So that is glued together on purpose, so do not rip that apart. Okay, that is done to help protect your Bible for long periods of time. So then you get a title page here. So this is produced by First Word Publishers from First Baptist Church in Milford, Ohio. Again, Bearing Precious Seed is the name of the ministry. There's the epistle dedicatory, and then you get an index here of the books of the Bible, what page they start on, and how many chapters are in each book. And then this is alphabetized here, and then it does have self-pronunciation of the text. Now you get into this thing, and this is really for $50, guys. I still consider this probably the best wide margin you can get for $50. Okay, there's a few out there that, like the Sovereign wide margin from Thomas Nelson, where you can get it in a leather soft for around $59. Christian Book probably has it for slightly cheaper, maybe $39 or $49. But this is a genuine leather Bible, edge lined. And the margin space I just think is really, it's not beatable. Like there's about 2.5 to 2 inches on top, 2 to 2.5 inches on the bottom. You have about 1.25 inches and 1.25 inches in the gutters. Okay, so 1.25 inches on both sides. So again, that gets you to another about 2.5 inches of note-taking space. Now what I did notice, now the reason why I think they were out of stock so long for their wide margins is two reasons. Their whole line underwent a whole font transformation, so they updated their font to a more modern, crisp, and clear font. They used to use just Times New Roman in their old Bibles, which I'll show you here. And then the other reason I think was paper supply. So they do get their paper from the United States of America. And during COVID and past COVID, they had a lot of problems sourcing a paper mill. I think the one that they had shut down, so they had to find another place to source paper. So when you look at the two comparisons though here, these are both supposed to be about 8-point fonts. They do read pretty consistently to an 8. I would say the one on the right reads, the new one reads almost closer to a 9, just the way it's spaced. But I'll give you a shot of both texts there. So you can see the first numbers are essentially the same size. The letters are essentially the same size. The Times New Roman font sometimes looks smaller and then sometimes it looks bigger. So they nailed it about with how big the font is with this new font. They pretty much put the same font size in. I would say the spacing on the new one makes it definitely a lot easier to read. I used to use this old wide margin quite a bit. And it was an all right reading experience, but you can see these lines as they go down are pretty close together. And you can see the lines as you come down this way are more spaced apart. And so that kind of loosens up the text, allows you to see it a little bit more clearly. And of course, I'm going to let you judge for yourself there which one's better. But I personally think the new font is better. It's a lot easier to read. It's a cleaner font, more crisp. And it's more appealing to the eye, I think. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Times New Roman. I read it all the time, but I think this new font they went with was a good call. So I'll zoom in here. You can just see that these lines are a little tight together. And you move over here and you see this. These are way spaced. And the words even feel a little bit more scrunched together in this one, whereas it feels like they're a little bit wider in this edition. So I didn't want you guys to see this. Again, they've completely moved to this new font. So you cannot get the old one, except for maybe you can find something on eBay or maybe a friend has one or something like that. The pagination, because of that, because the fonts are different, the pagination is not the same. So that's the thing. If you have an old Bearing Precious Seed hand size as well that has the old Times New Roman font, this will not match your hand size. So now the new hand size from them matches their wide margin, and then they have a large print as well, although I don't think the large print matches the pagination with these. So I do want you to be aware of that. It is a different font, but the margins are still great. The margins in the old edition, I think, are slightly wider on the inside. So you can see that's a pretty good amount of space there. I can easily fit 2 of my fingers in there. Here, 2 of my fingers almost take up into the thing. So I think this is definitely wider in the inner column here than this one. And that's pretty consistent throughout. I mean, it seems like they definitely shortened up that middle margin a little bit. But then I think they were able to keep this the same distance. These look really close together. Another thing is that this Bible adds that this one did not have is what they call whip stitching, or it's like a double stitch in the beginning of the book and the end of the book. This is to help to reinforce the spine and to help pages from falling out. You can see they add this line of stitching all the way down. So not only is it smyce sewn, but then these pages, these signatures, beginning signatures are sewn into the book block, so that essentially I think the idea here is that it helps Genesis and all these pages behind this stay into the rest of the book block instead of tear out. Because normally if you have like a basic paste off liner or you don't have the whip stitching, the first pages to go in a Bible are the first couple signatures in Genesis. And if you don't have a concordance, the first couple signatures in Revelation. If you do have a concordance, typically your concordance falls out first. So not only do they have that in the beginning here in Genesis, but I hope I can find it at the end too. They do have it near the end of Revelation as well. So they whip stitch both sides of this Bible, which is really, I mean, that's unique in a $50 Bible. That's an amazing attention to detail that they showed there. Now, as far as this, how it is the same, you do have a line down the middle still. There are no references, so this is a text-only Bible. You do have running page headers at the top, and then you have your chapter, book, and what's new in this one is you have actually the verse as well that the page ends or begins on. So you can see in the old edition, which I'll get out of the Psalms, but you see it's just Ezekiel chapter 2. Here you'll see Genesis 31:26, Genesis 43:6, and it's like that all throughout the Bible. So not only does it give you the chapter, it also gives you the verse number in which it ends or starts on. Now you see that we were in Genesis there. This Bible lays flat. So the binding is really well done. The leather is not too stiff. The hinge in this is a lot better than I think in the old one. The old one's hinge, you can see it. It wants to fight you on both sides. Seems like the hinge in this one lays a lot more flat, and that might be due to how they put those end sheets in and how they glued it. Now, one of the quirks that I want you guys to be aware of, that this may be a deal breaker for a lot of you, because they're a ministry, because they produce this at cost. For whatever reason, I don't know what it is. I don't know why their pages do this sometimes. There is a lot of creasing on certain pages throughout this book. So you can easily see this. This goes way up even into the text a little bit. Same on this side. And when that happens, that runs for quite a few pages in your Bible. Okay, so it's not going to be like 1 or 2 pages. If you get a crease, this is going to be over probably a couple signatures, and even probably over the course of a half a book or a whole book. Okay, so you can see we're starting to get out of it, but you can still kind of see it. And if we flip here, it is a little bit better. But in 2 Samuel, you can't really see this one, but you can definitely feel it. It's a different type of bump on the paper. And then you can kind of see this off gray color here on the paper. This is also from their mill, or their paper when it's running over. I don't know if it's like slightly dirty or what it is, but you can kind of see that edge where it's a little bit darker. Now, it doesn't bug me because it doesn't affect the reading experience of the Bible. And honestly, even those creases I've written over these, it doesn't affect the writing too much. I mean, obviously it's not smooth and perfect, but there's ways around that. But I do want you to be aware of this. And in this edition specifically, it's pretty bad as far as like, it's in a lot of places in this Bible. But again, keeping in mind this is a $50 Bible made at cost, genuine leather, wide margin. It's a ministry. You know, I wish that they could fix this, but it's been something that Bearing Precious Seed has been pretty much known for since I've reviewed their Bibles, and that was probably 6 or 7 years ago when I started reviewing their Bibles. So that page creasing is kind of something they're known for. A lot of people hate it. Some people don't mind it, and they get a really good Bible for a great price. Now, what's interesting is I was trying to look through my old one to see if it had the same problems, and it does on a few pages, but it's actually nowhere as common in the old edition. And again, this can be unique from Bible to Bible with them. So you may get one where it almost has no creasing, and you may get one where it's almost like every page is creased. So like on this old one, I mean, there's very few pages that were actually creased, so it's pretty nice. But again, like I said, I don't mind page creasing. The thing that really bugs me in a Bible is page curling, and the ends of the pages like come up from different air pressure and stuff like that. And this paper is actually pretty decent. Both papers in the Bearing Precious Seeds are decent. I say decent because the only pens you should use on these are probably pigment microns. I really wouldn't even use a gel pen or a Bic pen. You would probably indent the pages, even possibly tear through them if you press too hard with the ballpoint pen or a gel pen. But the pigment microns work great. An 005, the plastic nib, or the 01 are probably your best pens to use in this type of paper. And when you do, I'll show you where I took notes in it. It is just like any other wide margin. You're going to see the ghosting, but it will not bleed through. This is a self-pronouncing edition. So we'll go over here. Well, actually, you can see this in Daniel. So you can see Nebuchadnezzar has self-pronouncing marks. And of course, we'll go to Matthew as well and look at the genealogy. So here's the New Testament title page. You get right in Matthew. And it has self-pronunciation on most names. So the names that Bible readers are probably more familiar with, like David, and some of those, Asa, they're not going to have them, but on the more complicated names they will. So like, for example, Christ and Jesus, Mary, Jacob, Joseph, those do not have self-pronunciation. Only really the more unfamiliar names have that. And you can see here names of towns. So you have Capernaum, you have Chorazin, but Tyre does not have it. So it does have moderate self-pronunciation, but it's not overdone. So it doesn't bother me at all. And now you can see we're getting the New Testament. This Bible still lays really flat. It is a black letter edition. Of course, it is verse by verse. It has the Pilcrow markers to divide paragraphs in the text. So there's no like in-text paragraph headings or anything like that. You get the page summary at the top. But other than that, you're going to have the Pilcrow markers as your thought divider. And then, let me see here. Yeah, in Romans here, I took just a couple quick cross-reference notes for you guys to be able to see. So this is the plastic nib. And the plastic nib, for you guys that aren't maybe familiar with it from Pigmamicron, its thickness is probably between an 005 and an 01. So it's not as thin as the 005, but it's not quite as thick, in my opinion, as the 01. And it is a really great writing experience. So you get a lot of color on there. It puts the ink on there really well. But then you see you flip this over. There's no bleed through onto the other page. Of course, you're going to see some show through. Okay. And this, again, on camera is going to show up more than it does to your eye. So just keep that in mind. Like, I could write on this on the back side, and I would still be able to read what I wrote on this side. And when I flip it over, I would still be able to read the references on the other side. So the paper is actually decent enough to take notes in it with the right types of pens. Again, for highlighters, you probably would want to use a dry highlighter or a gel highlighter in this Bible. I have used those in the past in this old one. And again, the paper is similar. I wouldn't say they're identical. So you can see here I took notes of the Pigmamicron, underlined in it. It doesn't bleed through. We'll get to 1 John here though. I'll show you where I did some highlighter work. So there you can see I did some gel highlighter. And you can kind of see it, but it does not bleed through. I can easily read this page without being distracted. And then you flip it over and you can see everything there. So again, just got to use the right tools with this Bible, and it'll give you great many years of service. Now, the other difference here between the two editions, the new one and the old one, is that in the back of this new one, you don't get really any note paper. So we'll get back to the end of Revelation here. I'll see if I can find that overcast stitching. Yep, there it is. So this is, actually 1 John is where they have it in back here. You can see the overcast whip stitching again. So again, just marks of a well-made quality Bible. And then we'll get to the end of Revelation. And this thing just ends. I mean, there is no concordance, no maps. There's a couple like cardstock pages. So you can see what I'm talking about with this. This is how, I don't know how thin the paper is or just how the printing process is, but you can see when this font laid on top of this actually imprinted on top of this page. That was blank. So that's actually Revelation 22 imprinted on this page. Again, you can still use this page for writing. I'll probably use it for like travel notes or something like that, but you only get one in this new edition, and then you get a couple things of cardstock back here. You get like one page of cardstock, and then you get the two pages that are glued together. In the old edition, you got a lot of the Bible paper in the back. So Revelation ended, and then you had about probably 20 to 30 pages of Bible paper back here. And of course, you can use that for a lot more notes. So that is a difference as well. So you have a lot less note paper in the back. The font, again, in the new one is slightly bigger, slightly. And I think it's thicker paper because there is a thickness difference between these two. The new one is slightly thicker. You can see that. Probably 1/8 of an inch, maybe to 1/4 of an inch thicker. Not much thicker. But then they're the same width and height, so that has not changed. I'll let you guys see that. So the old one was almost honestly like a thin line wide margin. It was a very thin Bible. This is probably 1.25 inches thick. This is probably approaching to 1 3/8 to 1.5 inches thick total. I'll say the cover on this one is a lot better, or I just prefer it than the old one. It's not say it's much better. I like the color on this and the grain a little bit better. Let's see here. I think that's pretty much all the big points. So this is the brand new Bearing Precious Seed wide margin. Again, only $50 from their website. I expect once people find out about these will sell through quickly. Every time they put a batch of them on the website, they sell out really quick, within probably a month of them posting them. And another thing is new to this line as well, if you've stuck along this round, it does come in burgundy. So they did black and burgundy. In times past, you could only get the wide margin in just black. So again, if you stuck around this long, you kind of get the bonus here at the end. They do have burgundy as well for those who prefer maybe a different color. I have not seen the burgundy. I don't know what color, like how deep of a red it is or how light of a burgundy it is, so I can't answer that question for you. But I do know they have a couple of those as well. They have their large print in stock as well now, and then they also have their hand size. So all three of the big editions are in stock. So I encourage you, if you love Bearing Precious Seed, go pick one up. If you're looking for a wide margin Bible and you don't want to blow the bank on a Cambridge or R.L. Allen, this is a great Bible that would serve you really well. It's really built like a tank. It will last just as long as probably as a Cambridge or an Allen. It would be a great rebuying candidate too if you wanted to do that. And again, just use the right writing utensils on it and you'll be fine. And then remember that you can't predict it. You may get one with a lot of creasing in it, and just know that you might have to be okay with dealing with that in these Bearing Precious Seed Bibles. So if there's any other questions you guys have or comments that maybe I missed, please drop those in the comment section. I'll be happy to answer them, help out in any way I can. But thank you guys for watching. Take care and God bless.